Imagine a technology that makes decades of defense systems, well, almost obsolete. A weapon that isn't just about being a little bit faster, but one that fundamentally rewrites the rules of warfare. Today, we're going to break down what hypersonic weapons are and really dig into how this new class of speed is reshaping the entire game of global strategy.
So, what is it that makes these weapons such a game changer? Look, this isn't just about getting from point A to point B a little quicker. We're talking about a massive leap forward in both speed and maneuverability that creates a whole new kind of challenge.
And this visual right here shows you everything you need to know. On the left, you've got the classic ballistic missile. It flies in a high, predictable arc. Kind of like a long-distance baseball throw. Its path is all about gravity, which means you can do the math and figure out where it's going. But on the right, that's a whole different story. The hypersonic weapon flies low, it flies fast, and this is the key. It can change direction whenever it wants. That unpredictability is exactly what makes it so revolutionary.
To really get a handle on the speed, we're talking about a baseline of Mach 5. That's 5 times the speed of sound, or over 3,800 miles per hour. So what does that feel like? Well, a hypersonic missile could get from New York to Los Angeles in roughly 30 minutes. When things move that fast, the time you have to react just shrinks to almost nothing.
So you might be thinking, okay, it's just really fast. But no, that's not the whole picture. The real secret sauce here is the combination of that extreme speed with its ability to maneuver. It's this 1-2 punch that creates a threat that our current defense systems were just, well, they weren't built to handle.
To really understand why hypersonic weapons are so disruptive, we first need to look at how we've been doing missile defense for the last half-century. The entire strategy, all of it, has been built on one single foundational idea.
And that's it. This is the bedrock. For decades, all our military strategy, trillions of dollars in technology and infrastructure, it all came down to this one assumption. We can predict where the threat is going. The ability to intercept something has always depended on knowing its trajectory. It's a strategy of calculation.
And here's how that process is supposed to work, broken down into 4 steps. It all starts with detecting a launch. But the real linchpin, the part where all the magic happens, is step 2, calculating the trajectory. But what happens when that calculation suddenly becomes impossible?
The reason we've always been able to do that calculation is because of the ballistic trajectory. Once its boosters burn out, a ballistic missile is basically just an object falling through space. It's governed by gravity, it follows a set path. And that predictability has always been the Achilles heel that our defense systems were designed to exploit.
And this is where everything changes. This is the moment hypersonic weapons enter the scene and just shatter those old rules of prediction. The entire defensive equation just collapses.
This is the central multi-billion-dollar question that this new technology forces us to ask. If you can't predict where a weapon is going, how in the world are you supposed to stop it? This is the challenge that's forcing a complete top-to-bottom rethink of missile defense.
So how exactly do hypersonic weapons make themselves so unpredictable? Well, it really comes down to 2 key factors that work together perfectly: time compression and maneuverability. The first problem is just the raw speed. It radically shortens the timeline for any decision-making. That whole process for leaders observe, orient, decide, and act, a loop that used to take minutes, is now squeezed down into just a few seconds. And this timeline comparison is pretty stark. With a traditional ICBM, leaders had something like a 30-minute window to figure things out and make a life-or-death call. With a hypersonic weapon, that window shrinks to under 10 minutes. That's not enough time for a calm, calculated response. It's barely enough time to react at all. And then you've got the second part of the problem, maneuverability. See, a ballistic missile is locked into its path. A hypersonic weapon isn't. It can change course mid-flight. It can jink and weave. This means any initial calculation you made about where it's headed becomes totally useless.
It really all boils down to this one simple truth. You can't hit what you can't predict. If you launch an interceptor to a point in the sky where you thought the target was going to be, but it's already changed course, you've just missed. It's a simple concept with absolutely profound implications.
Okay, so if that shield of prediction is effectively broken, what does that do to global strategy? Because this isn't just a technical problem for engineers to solve. It's a geopolitical earthquake that's forcing everyone to reassess alliances, deterrence, and the fundamental nature of modern conflict.
When defense is no longer a reliable option, the entire strategic focus has to pivot.
It stops being about building a better shield. Instead, it becomes about deterrence, about convincing your adversary that the consequences of an attack would be so unacceptably high that it's just not worth it. This table here really captures that massive shift. We're moving from the old roles to the new. The foundation used to be defense through interception. Now it's deterrence through retaliation. The key factor used to be a predictable trajectory. Now it's an unpredictable threat. And maybe most importantly, stability used to come from having confidence in your shield. Now, it's a state of mutually assured vulnerability. So, what are the big takeaways here? Hypersonic weapons are forcing a cascade of changes. They're crushing decision-making timelines for leaders. They're making incredibly expensive defense systems far less reliable. They're flipping the whole strategic mindset from defense to offense. In this new era, you could almost say that speed is the new shield.
And that brings us to the ultimate question we're left with. In a world where that defensive shield becomes obsolete, where everyone is more vulnerable, what does stability even look like? Are we entering a new, more dangerous kind of arms race? The game has absolutely changed, and the world is now scrambling to adapt to a whole new set of rules written at hypersonic speed.
If you're interested in science, subscribe now to be part of this family and be the first to know about exclusive tips.